This was a disgrace. This was a rigged trial by a conflicted judge who was corrupt. It's a rigged trial, a disgrace. They wouldn't give us a venue change. We were at 5% or 6% in this district, in this area. This was a rigged, disgraceful trial. But the real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people. And they know what happened here, and everybody knows what happened here. We didn't do a thing wrong. I'm a very innocent man.
Donald Trump's reaction this afternoon, right after the verdict today, guilty on all 34 counts. Going to get into the legal and political implications of all of this, and there are many.
Joining the conversation, CBS 2 political reporter Marcia Kramer, and also a law professor from Hofstra, James Sample. Welcome to you both. Quite a day here in New York City. Your reaction to this overwhelming and undeniably guilty verdict?
It's an extraordinary day. It's history. It's not necessarily the history, the kind of history that the country wants to make necessarily. Certainly not going into it, but it is a remarkable, remarkable thing. And I really think a lot about the jurors who spent 5 weeks in that Manhattan courtroom, listening to the evidence, looking at the documents very carefully, listening to all the witnesses. And I think about the job that the New York District Attorney's Office did here, particularly in the waning days. Joshua Steinglass a couple days ago going in past 8 p.m. and those jurors who had been there early on in the morning listening to testimony, locked in their seats, not able to talk to each other about the case, listening to all of this narrative. And when it all piled up, you started with David Pecker, you had Michael Cohen at the end, and in between it was almost like a staccato presentation. There were bombshell witnesses and then relative unknowns, people we'd never heard of, but those people oftentimes were the ones who had the documentary evidence. They were the ones who had the phone call records, the meeting records, the opportunities, the wire transfers with the handwritten notes of the CFO. That kind of a staccato presentation ended up being extraordinarily effective.
And then the DA at the end, he said he's proud of his team. He went on to really congratulate them. And then at the end, he said, I did my job and they did theirs. What did you make of his reaction afterwards?
I thought it was a remarkably understated and sort of restrained statement on his part. You know that this has to be something that in his mind he considers a crowning achievement, and it's a historic moment for him, for the country, and he's a big part of bringing it about. But he's also aware that this is going to be a process and it's going to take time. So he said, for example, in response to a question as to whether or not he'd be seeking incarceration for the former president, he said, we'll address that on July 11th when we speak at the sentencing hearing. This is a measured, careful approach, and it's indicative of how the DA's office handled the entire case.
And Marcia, because he can't politicize this, he needs to be careful, because that's exactly what Donald Trump is doing.
Well, he can't politicize it, but you have to also look at this as a political victory for Alvin Bragg, because everybody said of all the cases that were brought, this was the weakest case. And the fact that he at first wasn't going to try the case, and then looked at the evidence again and said, I'm going to bring it, and everybody criticized him for doing it, and then he gets a victory. This is, remember, he has to stand for re-election too. So this is a big political victory for Alvin Bragg. And I know he's not going to take a victory lap, but people will be talking about it for months to come.
Speaking of the politics here, we've seen Donald Trump sent out at least 3 fundraising emails in the last 2 hours since the verdict has been read. What are we expecting to happen next here?
Well, first of all, he is trying to raise as much money as possible and capitalize on the, quote, rage of his supporters that they will contribute money to him. Remember, there's something very interesting going on. Actually, even though with all his support, Joe Biden has raised more money so far than Donald Trump. And so he wants to use this to raise a whole bunch of money to use in the campaign. But again, what we have to ask ourselves is this: what effect politically is this going to have?
Right.
And I think it has to still sink in people's minds, and people have to start asking themselves, do we want a convicted felon as the president of the United States? I mean, he stands convicted. So the question then becomes, where is this going to have an effect? the 7 battleground states, which until recent polls, Trump was leading in 5 of the 7 states. But we have to take a look at polls in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. Now, CBS polling has indicated, and this is before it happened, that about 15% of voters, Republican voters, said they might change their mind about Trump if he was convicted. Now, we don't know whether that holds up after the conviction, but it gives wiggle room for Joe Biden and voters for Joe Biden to go after, because even though Trump was ahead in those states, he was only ahead by 4 or 5 points.
And those states are everything. The swing states are everything.
States, they're everything.
In the election.
And if even 2 or 3 points changes, Joe Biden can win.
That's true. Professor, you were talking about the fact that convicted of these charges, you can still run. You can still run for president. Can you vote for yourself? And what is the quirk that allows that to be the case?
It's a great question, Maurice. And, you know, the Constitution is an extraordinarily short document. You think about this document. It's been around for basically 250 years, and it's held the country together. It is the framework of a nation, but it is extraordinarily short when you consider the amount of work that it does. Article 2 sets out the qualifications for the presidency. You have to be a natural-born citizen. You have to have attained the age of 35 years. Beyond that, Amendment 22 was adopted to essentially establish term limits for the presidency. You can't have served two terms already, right after FDR. Other than that, the Constitution doesn't set any requirements for the office. It's up to the voters. And so being a convicted felon is not disqualifying in terms of running for office, even though in many states, being a convicted felon would prevent you from voting for yourself. Now, because Donald Trump votes in Florida, and because Florida honors the law of the state in which you were convicted, which is New York.
We're following.
And because New York is relatively progressive on these issues, and only felons who are actually incarcerated are prevented from voting, Donald Trump gets to vote in Florida by benefit of New York law.
Well, there we go.
Okay.
Right. Complete circle there.
Crystal clear. We fully get it.
So I don't mean to interrupt, but I'd like to talk about this appeal. The defense has made it clear that they plan to appeal immediately, and I'd like to get your thoughts because, you know, Trump immediately said, you know, this is a disgrace, this is rigged. He also mentioned they didn't allow a change of venue. Do you expect these are all things that could be brought up in support of an appeal?
I think those are the arguments he'll make outside the context of the litigation. You know, for example, he says, oh, they wouldn't give us a change of venue or in a jurisdiction where we're at 5 or 6%. What is he referencing at 5 or 6%? He's talking about his polling numbers in Manhattan. If you don't want to be tried in a particular jurisdiction, don't commit crimes in that jurisdiction. There's no venue rule that is a function of your polling numbers in that a change of venue based on polling numbers. Think about if that were our legal system. Right. It's just not. I think his lawyers will make strong legal arguments. I don't think they'll be successful. I think they have arguments based in the law. They're not going to be able to overturn the jury's fact-finding. That's sacrosanct, right? The domain of the jury is to listen to things and determine things like credibility, to weigh the evidence. That's what the jury did. If the Trump team is going to pursue these appeals, which they absolutely will, they will focus on the unprecedented nature of these particular falsification of business records charges being elevated to the felonies that they are because of the pursuit of unlawful means, additional unlawful means. And that here is either the federal election laws, New York state tax laws, or other falsification of business records. And so that is the area that initially, and you know, people talked about this being the weakest of the 4 cases initially. That was the perceived weak point. But the district attorney's office got over the hurdle. They got over that hurdle. They brought this case. They were successful. And it will be difficult, not impossible, but it will be very difficult to challenge this verdict on appeal.
I mean, the next place they go to the appellate level in New York, then the state's highest court, the Court of Appeals. Right. Could they end up in federal courts in any way, shape, or form? Could you imagine that?
In order to get jurisdiction in a state, in an appeal from a state conviction, it has to go all the way up. You have to exhaust your state appeals. So as you say, it would go to the appellate division in New York, then to the New York Court of Appeals. And then if you can find a federal issue that would result in a reversal of your conviction, you can file for a petition for certiorari, but you can only do that on a federal basis. Most of this case, the vast majority of the case, is New York law. They can try and make a due process federal claim out of it. It'll be a long shot.
Marcia, you know, Donald Trump did not testify in this case. Do you think he regrets that?
I don't think he regrets it one bit. I think that if he had gone onto the stand and they could prove that he perjured himself, that would have been a huge felony. So they wanted to avoid that. But one thing I'd like to talk to you about in terms of the court situation, it's going to take so long for this appeal process to be carried out. I mean, first you go to the appellate division and you argue, and then they rule, and then you go to the Court of Appeals, and then you argue and you rule. By the time all this is done, we're going to be past the election, we're going to be into January. He may be president, he may not be president, and whether he wins or not will probably also affect, you know, where this goes and whether the other cases are being brought. Because remember, there are 3 other cases that they could actually be tried on. He could actually be tried on.
All right, so much more to sort through here. Marcia, thank you. Professor, thank you as well. Great insight. We're going to take a break here. We're back with much more of the aftermath of the verdict. We'll be right back.